morning, everyone. My name is Nadia, they, she pronouns, and on behalf of all of us at the center, I want to welcome you to our Transgender Day of Remembrance. These are our flowers online event. Transgender and gender nonconforming folk are the flowers in our community. They bring us love, light, and strength, and are often not given the accolades or recognition they deserve for all that they do. We want to honor those who have passed, those with us, and those who will come after us as the flowers of our community. The Transgender Day of Remembrance is held in November to honor Rita Hester, whose murder in 1998 kicked off the Remembering Our Dead web project and a San Francisco candlelit vigil in 1999. Rita Hester's murder, like most anti-transgender murder cases, has yet to be solved. Transgender Day of Remembrance gives transgender people and their allies a chance to step forward and stand in vigil, memorializing those who died by anti-transgender violence. We at the center come together to mourn and to remember the lives of our transgender and gender diverse folks who were taken from us from prejudice, bigotry, and violence, and to renew our commitment to fighting for social justice and liberation for those in the transgender and gender nonconforming community. Today, we have amazing speakers and advocates to honor the lives that have been lost. This evening will feature a musical performance by the Youth Pride Chorus, followed by our keynote speaker, an art performance, community shares, and it will end with a beautiful healing session. This evening can bring up a lot of emotions. Please know that we at the center care about you and are here for you. We will have live support from center staff during the event if you need to talk to anyone. We also have an in-person Transgender Day of Remembrance event on November 20th at 4 p.m., and we would love to see you. Lastly, I want to acknowledge that we are gathered on the unceded land of the Munsee Lenape peoples. I ask that you join me in acknowledging the Munsee Lenape community, their elders, both past and present, as well as future generations. The center also acknowledges that it was founded upon exclusions and erasures of many indigenous peoples, including those on whose land this institution is located. This acknowledgement demonstrates a commitment to beginning the process of working to dismantle the ongoing legacies of settler colonialism.
be good, whether with or without
Hi, my name is Princess Ocean. I'm from Brooklyn and I want to talk about my experience being trans. So, I being a black trans woman is kind of um really hard because not only you getting discriminated by people, you're getting discriminated by your own father. I mean, my mom accepts me for being trans, but I don't think she understands like the full um thing about being trans. So it's kind of hard with me and my mom, but we're working on it. So being trans is like really hard because like a lot of people will literally put you down, like, because if you don't look like a certain type of person, like, you will get I mean, you get discriminated anyway, but like, if you don't look cis, you will get like bashed for being trans. Um, I think me, I think it's, I'm sorry. I think it's like, I think it would be like, I would have thought like transitioning would stop me from getting bullied, but I still got bullied until this day. Um, I never got along with other trans people, um, or straight men. I mean, cis men, which I don't really want to get along with them because they are really something. So that's it.
Hi, my name is Perlman. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm 18 years old. Usually, when I speak to folks about being trans, I like to push for as much of an emphasis on possible on trans joy. But today, Trans Day of Remembrance is a time in which we are given the space for grief that we deserve, that we don't usually get as trans people. I'm Jewish, and in my tradition, mourners are given 7 days after the funeral, known as a Shiva, in which they're treated with the utmost care and respect, and all of their emotional and material needs are met by the community around them. But unfortunately, due to the societal pressures of capitalism, so many folks are not given that time. We have to return to work, take care of our families, pay for food. For so many of us, we have to expend so much energy just to survive that we don't have much left to give our grief the time it deserves. So spend some time today to feel deeply, to hurt for our trans siblings. As much as we deserve space for loud, exuberant joy and pride, we also deserve space for private and painful healing. Because this year was especially painful for our community. Between record rates of anti trans violence, systemic medical transphobia during a pandemic, and high rates of mental health issues during quarantine, this year has given us lots and lots of reasons to grieve. And I also want to take time to acknowledge all the trans people whose names we will not read today at vigils whether it be due to their deaths being not reported or misreported, or due to folks not being able to be out as trans while they're alive. Today is for them too, and my heart hurts for all of us. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge the young trans lives we lose every year. And while not all of these deaths are due to anti-trans violence, as many of us know, trans youth have incredibly disproportionate rates of suicide and self-harm, exacerbated by the vicious attack on trans youth rights this year that's being played out in the state level and the national level. The bravery and lives of these trans youth will not be forgotten. And as many of us know, we live in a violently transphobic world. We live in a world that tells us through laws, movies, news articles, and court rulings that it does not want us to live, especially because of colonialism and white supremacy. For so many folks who transcend what has been forced upon them at birth, it is an inherently radical act simply to exist, and it is impossible to be radical without some kind of risk. And especially for Black, Indigenous, and Latino trans people, especially trans feminine folks, the act of being out opens people up to the possibility of pain for the rest of their lives. Despite that, despite the risk of pain and suffering, we do it anyway. To be trans in this world is to spend every second of your life as resilient. And when I speak about resilience, I am not just referring to brave and overt acts of resilience. I am also referring to the ways in which our survival subverts and challenges the world around us. Our survival as trans people is resistance. So take time to rest today. We talk a lot about self-care in our circles, but at its most basic level, self-care is rest, which is especially radical in a world dominated by capitalism. So rest today, because we all deserve it, especially right now. Today is for all the trans people who've come before us and who are yet to come. May their memories be the light that guides us toward a future of liberation. Thank you.
Is this thing on? Hey everyone, I'm Nareda, pronouns they, she, just a trans femme now immortalized in pixel format. Maybe I'm in HD. Maybe I'm on your phone, or your tablet, or your laptop, or maybe I'm existing inside of your headphones right now, and you're just listening to me like a podcast. Wherever I'm at for you, I would love to take you into my world for a bit. Come a little closer. Welcome to my daydreams. As a gender non-conforming, trans feminine being, my safety is in constant question. In order to survive, I imagine worlds beyond and within my grasp. I escape. I create. This is a meditation on self-fashioning, self-preservation, trans femininity, resilience, and trans futures. This is dedicated to all the gender nonconformists who have roamed the streets before me, and those who will roam the streets after me. I stepped outside, I started daydreaming, I survived. 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 Our imagination is such an incredible tool. Where do you think imagination comes from? For me, daydreaming is a type of imagining. And by that I mean it's a form of survival. The oppressed have always escaped their realities through their imaginations, freeing themselves. Sometimes this world is too much to handle, so why not escape in one of your own? That's what I do to survive the streets. Escape. I daydream that I'm elsewhere. Somewhere I'm uplifted, held tenderly, celebrated for my personhood rather than antagonized for it. I meditate on the past in my daydreams. I create myself in my daydreams. I fashion my futures in my daydreams. Tú eres la diosa que nadie puede aguantar. Aún no has encontrado a alguien que te aguante. Someone to worship the winds you blow and gifts you manifest. Until then, you will continue to grow. What would it mean for us to be liberated from gender? Where we have the autonomy to proclaim our gender without fearing for our lives. A world liberated from the confines of the gender binary and its limitations. Liberated from categories that cannot encompass our fullness. This vessel is beautiful and powerful and worthy of love and admiration and desire, and deserves to be desired and acknowledged and received with open arms and held by warm hearts and cradled by loved ones, and is allowed to change and grow and explore and second guess and be confused and break and be pieced back together and stay broken for a moment and take its time reconstructing, and is given permission to not know what is next and can be conflicted and is crying and laughing and is tired and energetic and is rooted and sprouting and beaten and fighting and screaming and muted and surrendering to the moon and whispering its secrets into the darkness and hopeful for tomorrow and drowning in potential and burning and defying and stopping time and weeping for happiness and enraged for sorrow and pining bliss and lives in disappointment and settles for nothing it doesn't deserve and refuses and creates and fashions and inspires and is opening in perpetuity and closing endlessly and is the embodiment of the galaxy and stars and moons and is me. I am grieving and enraged and full of sorrow. I want vengeance, trans vengeance. Our vengeance is a riot, not just about today, but tomorrow too. It is the recognition of our humanity and the potential we contain. Our vengeance is imagining tomorrow, where the sun kisses our skin, where the gifts of our abundance are celebrated, where we may exist outside without fear, where community thrives. Our vengeance, our future, our joy, a revolution.
Hey everyone, my name is Milan Garcon, and I would love to wish everyone a happy Trans Day of Remembrance. I would like to also thank the Center for having me as this year's keynote speaker. Now, for those of you that do know and for those that don't, I am non-binary and my pronouns are she and they. So this year, we really wanted to focus on giving the girls their flowers while they're here, not waiting until people are no longer on this earth to recognize the work that they've done, the lives that they've impacted, and the family members that they have left behind. The Human Rights Campaign, an LGBT plus campaign group that has documented trans killings since 2013, says at least 45 trans, non-binary, and gender non-conforming people have been murdered this year. 2021 is the deadliest year for fatal violence against trans folks since national record keeping began. And with 6 weeks of the year left, the figure may only continue to climb. Just days after 2021 became the deadliest year on record for anti-trans violence, yet another trans woman, Jenny De Leon, has been slain in the US. This lets us know that our fight has only begun. It has just gotten started. We've just began to be in a world that takes violence against trans people seriously. Now the media wants to cover anti-trans violence. They want to publicize the wrongs that are being done to our community. But that's not enough. The number of trans women, and more specifically black trans women, in the US that are killed for just being who they are is an epidemic, and we have to treat it as that. And when I speak about giving flowers, it's about making sure that you are screaming at the top of your lungs for all of our trans women and black trans women that have been affected by anti-trans violence and gender hate crimes. We don't have the space, the privilege, nor the time to wait to give someone their flowers, to wait to recognize them for all that they are and all that they do and the greatness that impacts us all. When I talk about giving someone their flowers, it's about celebrating all that they are, all the time. It means when your sister gets that new job opportunity, you say, "Congratulations, sister. How can I help this transition, this new part of your life go smoother? How can I support you? How can I be there for you?" It's about supporting and uplifting all of our trans sisters, no matter what their walks of life are, no matter what their professions are, no matter what industry that they are working in. It's about showing up. So let's dig a little deeper and talk about the history of Trans Day of Remembrance. Trans Day of Remembrance started in 1999 by a transgender activist named Gwendolyn Ann Smith. It started as a vigil in honor of another trans woman who was murdered in Allston, Massachusetts in 1998. Her name was Rita Hester. Now, Gwendolyn started a website called Remembering Our Dead, which memorialized people who had died as a result of gender-based violence. This list now lives on as the Trans Day of Remembrance website, and that is how we got here. Now in 2021, that gender-based deaths are at an all-time high against the trans community, non-binary, and gender non-conforming communities. We have to step up and we have to continue giving each other our flowers in the moment when things are happening, uplifting each other. Every time that there is violence against the trans, non-binary, and gender non-conforming communities, every time that we have to fight for our lives, struggle for rights that belong to us, that's a fight. We're getting a step closer. We are creating spaces and forcing everyone else around us to respect us for who we are and all that we are. One thing I don't want to happen is for people to get congratulations confused with giving someone their flowers. By giving someone their flowers, you are helping them utilize tools to continue being the great person that they are, to continue being as impactful and invoking change and fighting for the rights. Most of the time, when it comes to LGBTQ plus rights, trans people are way too often at the forefront, taking most of the brunt of the violence, taking most of the pushback from heteronormative society. It's trans people at the front of those lines. And for that, everyone in the LGBT community owes them their flowers, owes owes them the respect and the love and the support. And they owe them their lives. Let's be real. Trans people, gender nonconforming people, were always mainly the ones who put their faces and bodies on the line. They were the ones to repeal the subsection 1 of Article 516 that criminalized homosexuality with 4 to 8 years in jail. This also stands true for Marsha P. Johnson and the Stonewall riots. We have to join our trans women at those front lines, not stand behind them and hide. Not hide in your ability to be a cis gay man or your ability to be a cis lesbian. We have to make sure that we are getting behind our trans, our non-binary, and our gender non-conforming folk that are fighting for our lives, our rights, their rights, because oftentimes we don't get a safe space. We don't get a time out from who we are. We wear our identities on our sleeve. It's a part of our daily presentation. The separation between sexual identity and gender identity is a huge one. And when you recognize that, I think you can begin to understand the issues and why trans people, non-binary folk, and gender non-conforming individuals fight so hard so that we are all treated equal on this planet. Because 9 times out of 10, the worst of the worst is going to hit the trans, non-binary, and gender non-conforming parts of our communities. This has been a fact. This has been proven. The statistics are there. But where we are lacking is in the support. Where we are lacking is making sure that when our trans women are murdered and we are all joining together for vigils, we are all marching, we are all fighting back, we are showing up at our state legislators, we are showing up for the court dates, we are making sure our trans sisters that have been incarcerated, wrongly incarcerated, put in the wrong jails, have bail money, have lawyers. We need every single being, body, every atom. Okay? And when I say atom, I'm talking about the molecule. We need every fiber of everyone's being to be right there on those front lines, fighting for the lives of our trans individuals who a lot of times encounter this violence while they're on the front lines fighting for our lives, are being put in jail while they are marching. We have to make sure that we're there as a community, as a whole. One thing I will say is, although gathering to remember the life of one of our lost trans sisters is so emotional and a lot of times very hard to do, just out of the realization that it could have been you, it does fill my heart with so much joy to see so many of my sisters in one space, taking it up and letting the world know we are not going anywhere. You cannot push us out. You will not silence us. We will continue to be resilient. We are going to continue to fight. And we are going to continue to love and support each other through all of the madness and through all of the joy. It's definitely going to be a journey continuing this fight, because it's a fight that is, like I said earlier, it's just beginning. But it's a fight that in 2021, we have the leverage to change the world. But it's only if we can continue giving each other our flowers while we are here, recharging each other's spirits so that we can continue to do this great work. It's about supporting the organizations that were created to assist transgender women, like the Marsha P. Johnson Institute. One of them is called the Trans Women of Color Collective, also founded by Dr. Lourdes Ashley Hunter, an African-American trans woman herself. There's also Trans People of Color Coalition and the Black Trans and Femmes Association. These are organizations that have been constructed to help our Black trans women not only fight back against the violence that they have to encounter every day just for being who they are, but also against poverty, against homelessness. It helps with health issues and making sure that medical facilities can be accessed, because access is a huge thing that holds our trans community back. Way more than our gay community, our lesbian community, and our bisexual community, because those are sexual identities. When you speak about gender identity, that comes in a form of presentation. And if it isn't heteronormative society, if you aren't giving what a straight person would give, a cisgender, a cis-het person, let's just put it that way. If you don't give it up like that, darling, this world is going to be a very hard place for you. And by giving someone their flowers, by offering them that support, by grabbing their hand and standing next to them on the front lines as they fight for the rights and remember the lost lives of our trans sisters, that could be the saving factor in that person's life. That could be the access that they needed to be able to get that job. That could be the access that they needed to get the good health care. But we have to show up. We have to be there. We have to support. We have to give each other our flowers. Not while we're here, but so that we can continue to be here. Just remember, for you to be able to walk a ball, for you to be able to get up and drag and go sing and lip sync your heart out and collect those coins, for you to be able to hold hands with your partner, for you to be able to dye your hair purple and wear your platform boots and not care what anybody in the world has to say, that's because of a Black trans woman throwing that brick at the Stonewall riots and changing all of our lives forever, changing the entire scope of what being LGBTQ plus in America and in the world look like. So I want us to remember that. I want us to share those stories. I want us to lift up our trans sisters and our trans brothers and our non-binary and gender non-conforming family members as well when they are out here doing the work, when they are on these front lines, when they are getting up in these huge public spaces and being completely vulnerable. Also that the community can benefit off of the world learning a bit more about who we are. So when we give each other our flowers, we empower our youth, we empower each other, our sisters, our brothers, and everybody to pick up their power and change the world. I'm just saying, if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. We have to make sure that we are watering each other so that we can not just grow, not just survive, so that we could bloom into the flowers and give back to our youth. It's a cycle that has to happen. And as we continue to be that cycle for each other within the LGBTQ plus community, we can continue to fight against everything that is coming our way. And with that, I hope that we all have an amazing Trans Day of Remembrance and continue to remember and memorialize all of the lives lost in 2021, in 2020, and all of the years before, so that we can continue to share their stories and propel us into the future. I love y'all, and I love us for real. I'm Milan Garcon, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this event and the rest of your day. And don't forget, give your sister her flowers today.
beautiful community. My name is Tate. I use they, them pronouns. I'm living in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. One thing I wanted to say is sending all my love to y'all as we round another year of Trans Day Remembrance, paying tribute to all of the folks that we've lost in the last year. And hopefully, like, as we're witnessing each other, we're able to like remember what it means to keep working towards safety, instilling hope in one another, and the ambition to manifest like a world in which we are seen and loved as much as possible. Sending all my care to you, my siblings. All right, thanks.
Transgender Day of Remembrance gives us a space to grieve the loss of our siblings, our kin, taken from us too abruptly and to violence. On this day and every day, we commit and we ask our allies to commit to helping us build the future in which we wish to see. A future full of safety and love for our trans fam. A future where we no longer have a day set aside to counting the members of our community that we have lost. There have always been trans folks, and there will be trans folks in the future. Rest in power to my angels. Mwah.
Hey friends, my name is Gia. I use she and they pronouns, and I wanted to read you a poem for Transgender Day of Remembrance and Resilience. This is called The First Time Children Threw Garbage at Me. I was actually quite lucky. Of all the items on the Taco Bell menu to splat at my feet on the sidewalk, the football-sized plastic cup with its ice cubes that scattered in a loose formation of translucent teeth is actually what I would choose, given the options. Oh, given options. How you make a fork of everything. There is so much that can happen in the 5 minutes or less before your lift arrives. Sometimes it's good to stop for a moment and thank the tree lurching over the community garden's wrought iron fence that provides this pleasant umbrella from the drizzle as I wait. Sometimes you gotta take off your headphones and listen to the children laugh as they run away from you. I would say that I knew the risks as much as anyone on the other side of the river can. I got called faggot long before I even did fag shit. I learned quick how to undercover cop my life, how to adjust the pitch of my presentation in order to collect the evidence I needed, how to safely get through the crime scene. There are times I wish I could have stayed there, in the land of, oh, his pronouns are they, them, in the land of my queerness being plausibly deniable, or at least less obvious. But the thing about lying just a little with every breath is that you can't trust anyone who inhales around you. I was in a film noir of my own making, and the credits never rolled. And then there was that day, lying on the hardwood floor that smelled like pine, where my fearless moral gender inventory asked so plainly, would I be happier if I was a girl? And the yes that I said back slid over my face like a coffin lid. I knew that there would always be a deep haunt of wrongness, no matter how right any moment felt. That the contents of my can are very different from the label on the outside. And more than that, the market has a clear policy on how to deal with defective items. I had to accept that I was born dead. If I am blessed to live another 40 years, it will be in service to the grace that opened the tomb in my chest not too long after that day on the floor. the grace that lifted me up to ask for help, that transmogrifies from under my tongue and into my blood and out my joyous tears in morning prayer. The grace that filled me with nothing but a mother's disappointment in the kids the same age as my own, who were just following the orders the world has given them. The grace that looked back at me from the puddle at my feet and said, "You are not the broken cup. You are the tree that grew over the fence. You make shelter. You will be here long after the sidewalk cracks against the uppercut of your gnarled roots." Grace said, "It's okay, girl. Someone's coming to get you. You have a place to go. You are bigger than this moment. The shame running down your face belongs to the weather, not to you. However, you would do well to remember this will not be the last of the storms." Thank you very much for listening.
Hello, and thank you for welcoming me into this sacred, soulful space. Here, we will take a moment to connect or reconnect with ourselves and one another. As we begin this practice together, please know that anything I say is an invitation. If anything doesn't feel good to you, or if your body or heart let you know that they're needing something different, I encourage you to trust their wisdom and give yourself what you need. Please take care of yourself, however you need, and know that there will be people available to support you this evening. As we begin, I invite you to notice yourself here in this space. As you turn your attention inward, you may choose to close your eyes. If it feels more comfortable to keep them open, that's okay. Perhaps just let your gaze soften or focus on a random spot on the ground rather than looking around to help reduce any external distraction. In this moment, you may choose an anchor, something to keep you grounded, to come back to should your mind wander. If at any point that happens, notice it without judgment, and then gently return your awareness to your anchor. Your anchor may be your breath. It may be the sound of my voice. It may be the feeling of the ground beneath you upon which you rest. It could be the steady beat of your heart, reminding you you're here, you're alive. Whatever you choose, allow it to root you here in this space, in the present moment. If it feels okay to do so, begin to slow your breathing. Breathe more deeply, each inhale lasting longer, sending the breath deep, deep, deep into your belly. Then release the breath, each exhale slow and steady. If you can, see if you can adjust your breath so you're exhaling a little bit longer than you breathe in. As you adjust to this new rhythm of breath, you may choose to take a few moments just to notice all you can about where you're at in this moment. Notice any sensations, any emotions, any energy or movement or urge to move. Notice if there is anywhere inside communicating a need to you, perhaps easeful, slow movement, or gentle touch, or visualizing sending some compassion and care to a hurt place. Allow yourself to give yourself what you need in this moment, to listen to and honor your body, your heart, your spirit. Perhaps this internal attention feels hard to sustain or too much, and that's okay. Many of us struggle to feel safe and settled within ourselves. If you're noticing yourself uncomfortable here, perhaps shift your awareness instead outside yourself to the collective. Notice that in this moment we are not alone. All of us are here in community with one another, out of care for one another. We gather here today because we acknowledge and believe that each of us deserves to be here. And so to each of you, those who feel connected and those who do not, those who feel at peace and those who are unsettled, those whose hearts sing or ache, may each of you know that you are the child of something divine, a lineage of survivors, innovators, sacred space creators, warriors, healers, dreamers, believers, all beautiful and beloved, have culminated here with you. In this moment, allow yourself to see yourself as each of these things. Allow yourself to embody this power. And notice what happens in your body when you do. Do you find yourself sitting up straighter? Does your breath deepen? Does your heart open? Notice too if there are parts of you that are not able to do this, that might be shrinking away at the idea of being powerful and divine. We can notice this without judgment. And you may invite these parts to come along or to look compassionately upon them, because even in their shyness, their hesitance, they too are part of this lineage, this moment, this miracle. Make sure these shy parts are listening with us in this moment so they can receive this, feel us manifest this. In this moment and in all moments, may you know your inherent worth, your dignity, something unmovable, unfuckwithable. Breathe in. Breathe out. And know it to be true. May you know your power, how you come into your own strength every time you take up space. Name yourself for who you are. Let pride find a home within you. Breathe in. Breathe out. And know it to be true. May you know your people, living, dead, and not yet born, and hold them to you. Breathe in. Breathe out. And know it to be true. May you feel the support of all people of all genders, kin and allies alike, those you know and hold dear, and those you may never meet. Breathe in. Breathe out. And know it to be true. May you feel compassion for all the people all around the world who have been told they did not matter. And may that compassion sustain you. May you know that you matter. Your life matters. Breathe in. Breathe out. And know it to be true. May you live each day embraced by your community, embracing every part of yourself. Breathe in. Breathe out. and know it to be true. As you continue to breathe, may you feel these truths deep in your bones, in the caverns of your heart, down to the earth rooted beneath you. I invite you now to begin to slowly come back. Perhaps you release awareness of your breath and allow your breathing to return to its normal rhythm. Maybe you open your eyes, move about gently to feel yourself becoming more alive, more awake. Maybe you look around you and take in your surroundings. As you ease your way back, feel free to take with you something of this experience that will support you and ground you for the remainder of this evening. This could be a sense of calm, a feeling of connection to others, the reminder of this community's resilience, or even gratitude toward yourself for having taken the time to show your self-care, which is, as Audre Lorde reminds us, a radical act. Thank you again for sharing this space today, and may you go into the rest of the evening and all the evenings ahead in peace and power.
Good evening. My name is Mona Williams, and on behalf of all of us at the Center, I want to warmly thank you for joining us tonight in honor of Transgender Day of Remembrance. As always, the Center remains committed to doing everything we can to fight for TGNC rights, and we ask that you join us in this fight in your own prospective communities. If you have any questions or want to be involved, please reach out to us by visiting our website at gaycenter.org, giving us a call, or coming into our physical space now that we are again open 7 days a week. I would like to thank the Center staff, along with the TDOR Planning Committee, who yearly put this program together. And of course, a huge thank you goes out to tonight's participants. A huge thank you goes out to all the participants in YPC, Is Perlman, Nareda Luna, Milan Garsan, Jabril Jalot, and Lindsay Henui. We could not have done this without you. And to all of you watching at home, we cannot do this work without you either. So please, keep on marching with us so we can get this work done. We also would like to warmly invite you to our in-person vigil, which we will be having at Little Island on November 20th from 4 to 5 p.m. If you're able to make it, we would love to see you and join us in a shared space in honor of those that we have lost. Thank you, and once again, have a wonderful evening.